Okay, so the Seat School of Los Angeles County Board of Directors meeting, October 29th, 2021 is called to order at 9:02 a.m. I will do a quick roll call. As you know, this is acknowledgement. You've just heard that this is being recorded. I will do a quick roll call. And if you can just unmute and say present, that would be great. I'll start with myself. Ruth Stalford, present. Dr. Jackie Kimbrough.
Present.
Thank you. Isabella Costa.
Present.
Thank you. Sophia Echeverria.
Present.
Thank you. And Sarah Ali.
Present.
Thank you. And we obviously have our head of school, Jillian Juman, joining us. Alaire Tetrault.
Tetro.
Totally had that wrong. Tetrault. Thank you. And we have Kyle Doss. That's it, right? Okay. Thank you for being here. So before we move into the approval of the minutes, I just wanted to just say a couple of things. One is I want to thank everybody for adjusting their schedules on short notice to do this meeting. And I know it was short notice, and I know everybody has things going on in their lives. And so I know I appreciate, I know Jillian appreciates you making the time to do this. I also want to thank you and beg for your continued patience as we continue to sort of navigate this period of transition. Also your patience with me, because I do have, lots of things going on. And so I know that sometimes I don't communicate as well as I probably can. And one of the things that, we're all working on is a better communication process for everybody. But we are still very much in startup mode, right? And so there is just a huge volume of stuff. And, we had been operating under one construct and process since 2015, and now there's a lot of stuff that we're trying to transition. And so, I apologize if things have not been as smooth as we would all like them to be. And also to that end, something that we have all been thinking about, I know, is taking the time to, now that we are in startup mode and there is this volume, to make sure that nothing does fall between the cracks, that we take the time to actually review all of these governing documents that we've all seen over the years. And to do that, one of the things down the road, but sooner than later, much sooner than later, is to bring someone in to sort of lay all of those documents out in front of us and explain how the interplay of all those documents and which governs what, and so that we can really get an understanding of our role, foundation role, everybody's role, so that we can be very clear about. So I thank people for the input as to what would be helpful, going forward. So I just want you to know that that is underway, the plan. And so you will be hearing from us soon about scheduling a time to go over all of that. And that will be in the construct of a regular board meeting, but we'll probably be scheduling it sooner than later. So just know you'll be hearing from us about yet another board meeting we're going to put on the schedule. So with that, let's just move into the approval of the meeting minutes. So the minutes are from September 23rd, 2021. I'm hoping everyone has had a chance to read them. I know I have a couple of corrections, but I would love to, if anyone else has some corrections they would like to uplift, please, unmute yourself and let me know. Otherwise, I can just go through mine and.
Yeah. I have one. This is Jack speaking. I was listed as absent both on the summary of attendance as well as in the minutes, and I was actually present. So that's a question.
Yep. Yes, we will make sure we will correct that. Thank you. I also, to that end, wanted to also literally speaking of you, Dr. Kimbrough, is I think in our last meeting, and you correct me if I'm wrong, under the head of school update, I think this is where it was, we actually mentioned your meeting.
Actually, we hadn't met yet.
You hadn't met yet. Okay, so this.
No, but it was that spurred the meeting, spurred the
Oh, okay. So I just want to make sure I had that right. Okay, perfect. So correcting Jackie's attendance on the roster as well as on the minutes. We need to do that. And then there are a couple of typos in fundraising and development. Rose Hills, Every Child Foundation, Collins Foundation. The paragraph above it, whether or not hey is they. I just have a couple of typos there. And let me see if I have anything else. That's all I have. Anybody else?
Ruth, can I ask a quick process question? So these minutes felt felt different than the other ones that we've had. The other ones were much more high level, where this felt like it was a synopsis of what people actually said in much more detail. And so I'm just curious, like for consistency's sake, like do we prefer to go with these more detailed conversations where what people say are mentioned, or would we prefer to keep them high level summary around who was present for the discussions and, if any decisions were made? I'm just curious. So I guess my question is on the process, like did someone new begin to draft these? Because it shows to me, and then, can we get some consistency, and is there a way where, someone else reviews them outside of the person who's drafting them to catch those typos?
Yes. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Yeah, so Lara, go ahead.
So I can speak to that a little bit. I usually draft them up, and the process is Woody reviews them, makes them more high level. This week Woody was not in, so that review did not happen. I can go through and try to do that review, I guess, and per Brown Act, would we like re-approve them next meeting, or I'm not sure how that would work.
Well, no, I think what we'll do for these minutes is we will approve them pending the corrections as we've just discussed. And then for our next meeting, we will revert back to the original process, right? Because the minutes as drafted can be high level. Remember, this is recorded. So if somebody wants to hear, actually everyone who said, they can find that. So if that sounds right to everybody. Mm-hmm. Also want to acknowledge that Jennifer Price-Lesher has joined us.
Hello, present.
Thank you. So if that sounds right. Okay. So
Ruth, this is Sarah speaking. I'm putting in a +1 for the process that Isabel outlined, and appreciation for those on the back end who are drafting and preparing minutes for board review for meetings. And then separately, just for the benefit of those dialing in, if speakers can identify themselves, with appreciation.
Great idea. Thank you. Yep. And also, I think to add to that process is also, I think in general, when people are speaking, we should identify who they are, especially if they're not part of the board and not that recognizable immediately. So I think we should continue to do that. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, all right, let's move forward. So moving to Seat School of Los Angeles County Board of Directors minutes from the September 23rd, 2021, motion to approve those meeting minutes pending all corrections as stated. All those in favor say aye. I think probably I will do a quick poll to make it so everyone can hear. So I'm just going to call your name and you can vote. Isabella Costa.
Aye.
Thank you. Jackie Kimbrough.
Aye.
Jennifer Price-Lesher,
Aye.
Sophia Echeverria,
Aye.
and Sarah Ali.
Aye.
Ruth Stalford, aye. The vote is unanimous. The minutes are approved pending corrections. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move into, this is, just so you all know, this is a pretty targeted, focused agenda. So I'm gonna move through some of this stuff quickly, obviously ask any questions, but I just wanna make sure we get to the meat of the agenda. So construction update. The temporary site update is currently in, so we have made progress with that. The attorneys for us and for AJU have the lease underway. It's being redlined. I think we have resolved any business items, any philosophical items that needed to be addressed, so that we should have a lease for everyone to look at soon, which is also another reason we're probably going to be adding a board meeting, and we'll hopefully have a few other items on that, so it isn't just that. We will then be, there's some other work to be done after that lease, which includes a discussion about their CUP and some other issues, but they are very excited about having us. We're excited about being there. And just, keep a lookout for hearing from us about that. Any questions? All right. Then let's move on. This is, let's see. This has me as a finance update. And really, this is more of a discussion about our credit card approval and the 403B retirement plan. And this really is Jillian. So I'm going to turn it over to you and give Jillian the floor.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Awesome. And those of you who are can't see the screen, I'm going to be as descriptive as possible so you know a little bit what I'm talking about. So I'm going to recommend a 403B retirement plan. The kind of move to get this approved and then make sure that we're ready for December 1st is in hopes that we'll be able to hire folks and have a good package that we can help to recruit and also gather the best folks that we possibly can. So that's the intention with that. Currently, we are hiring for the Director of Family and Community Engagement. We have a couple of folks that are moving into the task portion of that interview process. But in general, we've had not a lot of folks that are coming with high quality or background and experience. And so we're looking at kind of going through the process with a couple of folks. And then if we have a couple of applicants that we feel like need to bring into a panel, I'm going to ask some folks to participate in that. If we are finding that folks are not ready to take on this position, we're looking to possibly shut it down for right now and then reopen it in the spring, where we can kind of have a new batch of applicants. So that's a little bit where we are, but regardless, we need to make sure we have a retirement plan and we can actually put it on the job description, because it's a good thing to have for recruitment. So I'm going to go through the information and then I'll just pause at different moments if there's any questions. I want to talk a little bit about what I was looking for, the 6 components. And when I spoke to different brokers, this is what I was asking for. And a plan that would serve under 50 employees. We needed a small organization plan. And those of you who have opened up organizations and are running organizations, you know what I mean. There's not many of them. No annual fees for CLA, a plan that provides competitive investment options. I wanted one similar to the DC, Florida, and Maryland, because this is one area where we can kind of recruit within the seed network and be competitive. So I asked for that. Reliable and knowledgeable broker. I have run into lots of different kinds of brokers, all kinds of flavors and beings out there in the world. We need somebody that's responsive and has a plan to engage staff. One of the things I know going through my 20s, 30s, and into my 40s, right? No one ever really explained this to me. And what I don't want to do that at CAA. I want to make sure staff know what they're signing up for and understand it deeply. And then benefits provided are LA competitive for existing 403B holders, which are most of our charter schools in Los Angeles, not all, but most. And then for CalSTRS, which has a different kind of group, a different kind of audience. That's also has some racial components to that. And so I wanted to make sure that we were being as equitable as possible and that I could explain the options that we have without it sounding like we're avoiding CalSTRS or avoiding a population of educators in Los Angeles, which becomes the charter versus public school debacle at times. And so that's kind of what I was asking for. Pausing, any questions on these before I jump into my recommendation? All right, I'm gonna keep moving, y'all. So in the blue on here, you're going to see where I landed for each of these components. So there was only really one organization in Los Angeles that is willing to serve a small organization plan, that is willing to grow with us and offer all the things that I'm asking for. And so it ended up being security benefits. What I love about security benefits is they're partnering with Lincoln Financial so that for our more sophisticated investors, which I was never one, but we do have folks that are, will be able to have options and be able to kind of look at investment packages for free, no penalties, and make a decision between security benefits and Lincoln Financial. So it was a good marriage for us. We landed with Vera Justin from Lincoln Investment. This is a broker that XED has used for many years. I also have found her very responsive and very knowledgeable. Every question I had under the sun, some of it was embarrassing questions. Some of them were very great questions. She was responsive and ready to go, including today. So if I text her, she'll be ready to go to come on the call with us and answer any kind of the legal questions that you might have that I am not able to answer. And then it was no fees. There's absolutely no fees to CLA for the continuum of our partnership with them. The next slide is around my next criteria. So we need to have competitive investment options. We have folks bringing in other 403B plans. We have all kinds of things coming in. And the list is very impressive. So those of you on the call who can't see the screen, I can't even count how many that are here, but my guess is Vanguard or things that you'd recognize, JP Morgan Equity Income. So we have over 35 different options folks can choose from if they choose to invest in this way beyond the money market. And so that is there. So I'll just pause for a minute so you can just check out that list. Did you want me to go back? Ruth, I saw you leaning in. Okay. I don't want to cut you off from the reading it. So here's the other thing. So we need to make sure that we're competitive in LA, that we can speak to it in a great way, and that we make a lot of sense. So landing here with a recommendation around seed contribution, our contribution at a 3% base for employees that are full-time, that's 30 hours or above. Of course, folks can choose if they are part-time to opt into, under California law, opt into the retirement plan. They wouldn't necessarily have a base contribution. And then you can choose at what level you want to contribute yourself and then also have us match. And so you'll see at CalSTRS, folks end up contributing anywhere up to 12% of their paycheck. This here, you're receiving 12%. It's not all coming from your paycheck. And in addition to that, there is no vesting period. So for CalSTRS, you're waiting quite a bit of time, 5 years for vesting. Here, there's no vesting period. There's plan-to-plan transfers that are no fee. There's an age 50 catch-up option. All full-time employees are included into this plan. The entry date is at the commencement date. Matching contributions are part of our plan. Rollover contributions are accepted. Financial hardship distributions are, and the kicker also, you can attain your assets, your retirement funds at the age of 59 and a half. So the flexibility here, particularly for someone who has been on CalSTRS, I'm talking about myself, CalSTRS, and then previous to that, kind of a union New York City pay retirement plan. This offers a lot more flexibility that is interesting and competitive.
Can I ask 2 questions, Jillian?
Yes, Isabel, yeah.
On the seed contribution column, and Sarah, there shows a 3% base plus a certain percentage, which I assume, if I'm reading it correctly, is half of what the employee chooses to contribute of their withholding. Is that correct? So it's base plus half. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that I'm reading that correctly. So then the total contribution, including the employee's contribution, the seed contribution. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Understand that. The second question I have was around if you thought about, I didn't see anything in the documents, but if you've thought about including a true up provision, which essentially would benefit the employees for CLA who have higher salaries, such as yourself, to make sure that if for whatever reason we reach a cap on your annual contribution, that we will make sure that seeds matching contribution will still continue.
Can you tell me a little bit more, because the state has, and I'm going to bring Barrett on the call because she'd be able to respond to both of us more elegantly than myself about the true up.
Yeah,
it sounds good, but there's a cap in, there's a cap on how much you can actually obtain every single year. Do you know how that works with that cap?
So I'm not sure how it works with the cap. I know that the true up provision actually does allow you as a company to be able to fulfill the total contribution even once the employee has reached the cap.
Okay. So I
believe that's the case. So I would love if you could, you don't need to bring her on the call, but I would love if you could have that conversation just to make sure, because it would probably really impact you and senior leadership more than anyone.
Okay. Really, really good recommendation. Thank you. I will talk to her about it.
I have a quick question about the availability of funds to invest in. Are there also, I forget the term for it, like target date retirement funds that people can select?
Yes.
That are part of it? Okay, great.
Yes. Actually, I should have put that on there, Jennifer. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Any other, these are really great questions. Anything else before I move on? Well, I guess that is my slide. Questions. So this is good. I predicted it. Any other questions that are coming up?
I have a question, and maybe you're going to get to this, so definitely cut me off. So in terms of the impact on something like this on our budget long-term.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so we originally created the budget at about 5%, predicting that that's kind of where we were going to be around our contributions. And so Kyle and I don't see you on my screen, but feel free to co-sign here. We've been working a little bit, and we're still in the range. Our prediction of 5% across the board will even out. We'll have some folks that choose 3%. We'll have some folks that choose the 6%. So we're actually thinking we're in a good place. Long-term budgeting, we are still working on just in general as far as the complete package. But I think around this is kind of a standard number. It makes a lot of sense. Kyle, do you have any add-ons to that?
I mean, I think I would just underline the fact that at a max kind of 6% seed LA contribution, the fact that our budget has 5% in there, I think is very conservative. And, oftentimes I see with schools, well under half of kind of the max contribution is kind of where you end up at the end of the year. So I think 5% with the 6% max is a nice estimate for 403B.
Any other? I'm admitting Rod into.
Oh, great. Well. And just so Kyle is from XED, just to remind everybody, and has been working with Jillian and the team.
Hello.
So if you don't recognize the voice, if you're
sorry.
Welcome, Rod.
So I think unless there's other questions, I just texted Vera to say true up ? So I'll get more information on that. But that's what I have for our 403B today.
I do have one more question. And maybe some of the other board members can also chime in on this one. In terms of the actual application, and before we, sign it, so to speak, it's the kind of thing, right? We should have an attorney review. One of our attorneys just look it over, or is that already done? Is that, someone want to jump in?
I think I'm going to jump in and then feel free, everyone, to disagree. My recommendation is that I think we absolutely can, just to dot our I's, cross our T's, but it's a very standard document used in California schools, particularly California charter schools in Los Angeles. All of them are. So I think it's our range of comfortability, and I'm happy to send it out to a lawyer if that's where we're most comfortable.
Rod, I know you just jumped on. We have just been going over the 403B retirement package, just so you know. That's where we are.
Thank you very much.
That's the plan, but
well,
you may want to go back on mute, Rod.
Does anyone have a preference or comfortability around these documents? Some of you might be working with these documents all the time, but.
Jillian, this is Sarah, just in
Yeah.
response to Ruth's question about legal review for this document. I think for me, it just raises the broader question, do we have our policy in place at the board level for document review, contract review moving forward? And if so, who is our counsel, our go-to counsel to conduct that sort of review, just generally speaking?
So Sarah, I'm just going to jump in here because that's a great question. In general, we have sort of two, depending on the type of document, we've been Young Mini Core. We've used that's one law firm that we've been using, and they're well versed in charter school everything. And then Music Peeler has been they've been the group drafting a lot of our other governing documents and things like that. And so in general, we do have everything reviewed by one of those entities, depending on what it is. Is that an official process? You know what, I'm going to look through, I mean, we've just been doing it in practice, but I want to review, I'm going to look back through our charter. I'm going to look back through everything else to see if there actually exists a process, or if we're just doing that, instinctively. But I think that's a really good thing for us to review, to put on our plate for next time.
So would it be fair to say if there is a process, then we'll follow it?
Right.
And then,
of course.
Right, we'll follow the rules. And then if there is not a process, I think I would love to know comfortability. For me, these documents are very, very standard. And so wouldn't necessarily need lots of review, although we can choose a document possibly that we want to overview, or we could just decide, let's just send it in regardless. So I'd love at some point, doesn't have to be today, that direction.
Jillian, can I ask, are you asking that because you have an urgency? Is there like a timeline by which you'd like to submit the documents?
Yes, I think within the next 2 weeks, so that it takes a while to kind of get it going, and then getting a employee-facing package.
And then if I recall, for other board members, if I recall reading this correctly, I think we can terminate contract with 3 months notice? Was that?
3 months.
Yes. Okay. So just wanted to put that out there as well. If there's any hesitancy on board members, like this is something that we can withdraw from if for any reason we need to.
Jennifer, thank you for that. I was wondering. One other question I have. So in addition to our charter and developing a process for document review, I wonder if the county, our authorizers, have any requirements, and if we should pursue that as well.
So great question. So this is in our charter petition, the 403B. There is language directly in our charter petition. And I can read it to you just so you guys know. It's just a couple of lines here. So it's in our motion. So it's just so you guys know, it's on page 221 of the charter petition, and it's element 11, employee retirement systems. And I don't need to read you the whole thing but all full-time employees, whether it's actually a small paragraph, to be honest. All full-time employees, whether certificated, classified, or other, will be covered under Social Security and the 403B plan. CDLA plans to contract with XED for all back office services, including processing payroll and retirement benefits. The head of school and HR director will be responsible for ensuring appropriate arrangements for coverage have been made. The 403B plan and CDLA's employer contribution will be approved by the board and adopted as the school's employee policies and then detailed in an employee handbook.
It also mentions, I don't know if it's there or somewhere else, Ruth, that we also reserve the right at some point to back up and say, do we want to entertain CalSTRS at some point? And that's at a later date. Is that correct? Am I incorrect?
Yeah, to support the life planning and retirement needs of employees, CDLA will participate in federal Social Security and a 403B plan. CDLA retains the option to elect CalSTRS coverage at a future date.
Thank you for that. Is there also in the charter anything about the specifics with respect to review of legal documents in a separate area, not relative to retirement?
I haven't seen that. Have you, Ruth? No.
No, but I think that's kind of what I was trying to say. I think we will review that and make sure. I agree, Jennifer. We should, I didn't see it, but so I do think we should make sure, that we're identifying those areas. Yep.
I'm sorry, I interrupt you. I just want Varied texted and said the board. So yes, there is a true true-up benefit that is attached to this, Isabel. She said the board can make a separate contribution level for a carved out group such as senior leadership. It's allowed within the government plan documents because it's a public school. So that would be the decision you guys would make around particular titles.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. If there's no other questions, I think for this particular segment, I am done with my recommendation.
So there's a million ways we can do this, right? One is depending on everyone's comfort level. And I want to be very mindful of Jillian's timeline. Also knowing that we also will have some other things that we're going to be putting on our plate that we will be reviewing in short order, anticipating those things. And that this is not just, Jillian's timeline, it's also the ability to recruit great talent, and it all, dovetails into all of that. And so I think we're all aware of that. There are two ways we can approve a motion. We can just put the motion up and approve this as is. Or we can agree that we will answer all these questions that we have in short order within the next 2 weeks, so that and have council review so that we can approve this within the next 2 weeks. And that is going to mean us, putting another meeting on the calendar somewhere in these next 2 weeks.
Can I offer a third option?
I can offer a 10th.
I would offer a third option to approve contingent on review of the charter to ensure that we don't need another additional review for Jillian to sign off on this. And then I think, was there any other outstanding questions? Does the board need to approve the true-up provision to be added? Yeah.
if that was something that you decided that we needed in this, we would need to identify what it is and make sense of it.
There are budget implications for adding the true up provision. So I would want to allow you and Kyle to dig deeper into what that means.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an idea, or does the board have an idea of what the amount could be so that we could look into it, and then we'll circle back? That's a longer process. So maybe it's approval and then we can true up as part of the package. So I think it would be just the amount we would need to amend on our policy side.
So this is Jennifer speaking. So in other words, we could approve a motion today that would allow you to take the true up or implement the true up position, but we wouldn't necessarily approve the amount. That would be at a later date, but at least it's incorporated as part of the process. Yes. And I love, Isabel, thank you for that, that third way. I think the other thing, you know, I don't know how much it would cost to have legal review of these docs, but that's, if we err on the side of just having a quick legal review of the docs, then we're covered irrespective of what's in the policy and procedure, and that too could be developed later. So erring on the side of caution.
Yeah, that could be part of the, you know, part of pending review of X, Y, and Z. And if, you know, as you said, it's standard. So that is something that council can just, you know, look through, right? Right, Rod?
That's what we do. Zoop.
Okay, so what we can do is we can bring this motion. Do you have that slide?
Yeah, I'm gonna present it right now.
I might have typos in it. I apologize.
It was a rough morning. It's fine. It's fine. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, it's
yes.
Part of it.
Okay.
So let me see. Next one. Sorry, you guys. It was a rough morning for me.
I'm trying to present it. I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry, guys.
All right, let me see if I just want to make sure I add in. Okay, so, and you guys keep me in check, all right? So the motion, before I actually bring the motion to the floor, so this motion is going to be to approve, hold on, I can't see this whole thing. Yeah.
I'm trying to, I don't think it's a.
I have to make my something, oh no, it only lets me make it smaller, not bigger. Hang on.
I was gonna say, can you zoom out? Yeah.
You know what, I'll just open it up to my computer. Hang on a second. Sorry, you guys. Oh, that's bizarre. It's doing it on my computer.
Did we lose Sarah?
Yes, yes. She just dropped off.
If you have sharing power, if you'd like to just share it from yours. I don't know what's happening with mine.
Oh no, it's okay. I just want to, you know what? The same thing's happening with my actual computer, which is very weird.
Do you want to?
I can wing it.
Do you want to cut and paste it into the chat?
I'm going to do that while you're talking. You wing it, and I'm going to cut and paste.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I'm going to go in the chat. Okay. So, well, my screen just closed. Oh my God, you guys, I'm sorry. I'm telling you. Hold on.
We still see you though.
It's Friday, luckily.
Well, you know, it's funny. I've had this. Oh, perfect. Thank you. All right. So here's, and you guys correct me. All right. So motion will be something like this. For the Seed School of Los Angeles County Charter Petition, Element 11, Employee Retirement System, page 221, the Seed School of Los Angeles Board moves to approve the adoption of the 403B plan as outlined by the head of school, contingent on a review of the actual charter petition, legal counsel review of the application and documents pertaining to the 403B, and any relevant cost implications. Is that the right way to say that? Someone correct me.
I think so. Okay.
That sounds to have covered everything.
So contingent upon action, I'm trying to type it into chat so you have it. Do you have it written down?
Yeah, no, I'm just reading it from the chat. Put in the chat.
Okay. Contingent upon review of the actual charter position, a legal review of the documents, contract, legal review of the contract. And the third provision?
And fiscal implications.
And an assessment of fiscal.
Can you provide a little bit more detail on the last one? Because, yeah, can you provide a little bit more context in the last one? So
it's really related to the true up provision.
Related to the true up provision. So, but are we expecting Jillian and Kyle to review the financial implications of the true up provision now? Or are we approving that they get to adopt the true up provision and we'll assess the financial implications later?
The latter.
Right.
We will assess the actual cap that SEEP will provide. Yep. At a later time.
Okay, so then the language would be something along these lines. Correct me, guys. And an adoption of the true up provision option. That's redundant. And adoption of the true up provision option, right? This is going to have typos. Sorry. With
fine with me.
with an assessment of the fiscal implications related to true up provision to be held at a later date. You're going to have to fix this, guys. It's sloppy. Do you want me to read it to you? It's hard to do this in a chat provision.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Contingent upon review of actual charter petition, a legal review of the contract, and an adoption of the true-up provision with an adoption of the true-up provision, and an assessment of fiscal implications related to the true-up provision to be held at a later date. That's repetitive and redundant, but
repetition and redundancy is good in these instances. I think that flies.
It does.
Right on.
Not my best writing, guys, but it's in a tiny little chat box, and so I'll post it so that you have it. If somebody wants to fix the language later, I think we can, right?
Awesome.
Okay, leave it with. Is it an engagement contract?
What is it? It is a. Tell you. Sure, I'll tell you. Let's see what they label these as. It is a adoption agreement and a plan document.
So
that's not right, Jillian?
Not a contract. I'm taking the word contract out. Okay. Here we go. Contingent upon review of actual charter petition, a legal review of the adoption agreement and plan document, with an adoption of the true up provision option and an assessment of fiscal implications related to the true up provision to be held at a later date. Do we need to specify contingent upon review of actual charter petition for?
Yeah, the process, right?
The approval process, yeah.
For contract approval process. All right, I'm posting this, sloppy as it is. There you go.
Problem solving, love it.
Looks pretty good.
Do you need a second, Ruth, for that motion?
I do. I'll read the whole motion. I'm going to bring this motion to the floor. Sit, relax. It's a long one. Motion. I bring this motion to the floor per the Seed School of Los Angeles County Charter Petition, Element 11, Employee Retirement Systems, page 221. The Seed School of Los Angeles County Board moves to approve the adoption of the 403B plan as outlined by the head of school, contingent upon review of the actual charter petition for contract approval process, a legal review of the adoption agreement and plan document with an adoption of the true-up provision option and an assessment of fiscal implications related to the true-up provision to be held at a later date. May I have a second?
I'll second. It's Rod.
Thank you, Rod. Rod seconds. All those in favor, I'm actually just going to poll, if you guys don't mind. Okay. Isabel.
Approve.
Dr. Jackie Kimbrough.
Aye.
Thank you. Sophia Echeverria.
Aye.
Jennifer Price Lesher.
Aye.
Rod Hamilton.
Aye.
Ruth Stalford. Aye. Sarah Ali is no longer present. So it is unanimous. The motion is adopted. Thank you.
Appreciate it, everyone.
Thank you for, this is Jennifer. Although, do we have any caller-inners anymore now? Jillian and Kyle, thank you for your work on this.
Absolutely.
And flexibility, and all of you for thinking through this. I think this is really, really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, hopefully this next item will be a little easier. This is just the credit card approval, right? Are we good to move into that? Just so everyone knows, so per our fiscal policies, we need to approve and issuing a credit card to Jillian, just so you know. So if you want to, I reviewed our fiscal policies to find the provision where it is. And I can just read it to you. And it also is required by the bank, the credit card issuer, just so you guys know. But in our fiscal policies, it reads, organization credit card shall only be issued with formal approval of the governing board and may only be used for organization-related expenditures. In these policies, just so you know, directly related to the credit card, it does not give a limit in these policies, just so you know. But this is so that Jillian doesn't have to keep going out of pocket, which is what she has been doing and having to get reimbursed. So,
are you recommending a limit, Ruth? The credit card?
I think we have to put some limit on it. I think we should do what's customary. I also, maybe Kyle can jump in here.
Yeah, Ruth, the version of the fiscal policies that I got from Woody, I believe has a $5,000 limit on it. Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay. Does it look like that?
It does, but it might have one line changed in it.
Okay, perfect.
Inside, so.
Okay. Yeah, because I went back to the charter and realized that was something that we added in, that we had amended.
Yeah, because I've done a lot of reading over the last week, and I think one of the kind of LACO put, like, when they approved it with the contingency that we had to have a limit on credit cards, I believe. So.
Oh, okay. Well, great. That answers that question.
They didn't provide an amount, though. There's got to be a limit that's on the fiscal policy.
Well, I'm saying what I have does not have it, so I must have it.
And there's a couple of things floating around with all kinds of different limits.
Jillian, what else have you seen?
For fiscal policies?
For limits in terms of the credit card, yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Ruth about this the other day. As far as the documents that I've seen 5,000, I've seen 0. I know that LACO is much more interested in kind of like how much debt ratio are you going to have compared to your budget that you're going to have. Mm-hmm. And whatever it is you have to defend. We also have principals that are going to come on board.
Yeah.
Who also need some fiscal management. So I think that's, as far as like good policy making, that's what they're going to ask us to think about.
Do we have a benchmark for what other head of schools for CLA have limits on their credit cards and the amount of?
I don't know across the board what other seed schools do. I know at Alliance, we gave principals $15,000 on their credit cards.
I had asked for that information, but as mentioned, Woody was sick, so I think that may have just. I don't know if Alaire, you probably don't have that at your fingertips, so. Well, I don't want to jump. Sorry, I just found it, so I was going to jump in, but jump in.
All right, so this document says approved by the board of directors December 13th, 2019, redlined August 2020. What it doesn't say is a reapproved by the board date on the version I have. So like I don't have those records at my fingertips, but the sentence I see is each cardholder will be limited to purchases of up to $5,000 monthly, which will be the credit card limit.
Okay. And I think, Jennifer, I don't know if you remember, I remember us having a discussion about this in that December, right? And I remember we had 25,000 for contracts. I remember distinctly that.
Yeah, it was part of a broader conversation about spending thresholds writ large. Jillian, it may be hard to tell, but based on your experience running schools, what are the typical, not policies, but expenditures? So would 5,000 be too limiting for a principal to have? Because what we want to do is not get in the weeds to have you return to us if you hit that $5,000 threshold every single time. So I guess the question I have is what's typical in terms of the expenditure need?
Yeah, and I think that's a complicated question in the sense of like, how do we see the role, right? So as the CEO of CLA, right, what's that limit, right? Versus a principal role where I shared kind of my experience at Alliance, which isn't necessarily everywhere, right? And we're also having a budget that's going to be anywhere from, $20 to $30 million a year. So when we look at that, I already have $7,000 on my credit card right now. So I don't want to give the answer there because I don't have one right now, but I do think that it's a little bit how we're seeing the role and what makes sense. And that was part of kind of some of the conversations we should have over the next month or so as well. Does it also make sense to say that $25,000 is the place? Because that I will come back all the time, I promise you. So I think those are good conversations to have. I don't have a stamped answer right now, but $5,000 is very limiting.
And I would have to agree.
Yeah, I would echo that too.
Yeah, our operation, which is childcare, which is not the same as what you're doing, is basically based in terms of supplies on established credit with Lakeshore and a lot of other institutions. So monthly we charge things and we get them. But at the same time, we discovered that our program managers, and I think you've met at least one or two of them, Jillian, really needed things quickly, quick turnaround time and so forth. And the best thing to do was give them credit cards. And on those credit cards, they are running for our managers on a budget of about $15 million a year. I think one has a limit of 10 to 12,000 and another one has a limit of 15,000. And both of those are pretty close to limit all the time. Not close to the 10 or 15, but they're well above 5,000. 5,000, I think, is just too small to be really useful.
I would agree. Oh, Isabel, I think you were going to speak. Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to add also that this is in the context of the startup phase where Jillian's going to need to have access to things immediately. We're going to be on a temporary site. There's who knows what's going to come up and what we're going to need to make sure that students feel secure, have everything they need, that the adults do too. And I would hate for Jillian to feel like, oh my gosh, now I need to put on my personal credit card because I don't have enough credit available to me.
That's so inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree completely. And we can revisit the limit once you have standard operations and you understand what your needs are. But looks like we're all in agreement that the limit should be increased so that you have some flexibility and you're not carrying the load for the organization.
Really, I appreciate the thoughtfulness there. Thank you.
So in terms of process, so Kyle, thinking about what you just said, that this is a red line, we need to go review what the implications of that red line is, right? So that we are approving what we need to approve. So that's just something, I mean, we can add that into the motion, right? We can just make sure that we correct that.
Do you guys have an initial amount that you feel comfortable starting with, knowing that, Jennifer, what you just said, we can always go back and say, does this make sense? Or are we coming back every 2 minutes? But is there an amount that you feel most comfortable with, or do we need more time on that?
How about we make it $10,000?
Yeah, and I think we also need to, think about that, like you were mentioning, Jillian, this, debt ratio, right? But at the same time, this is startup time, right? And we're talking about for Jillian. We're not talking about, that is something we can revisit, the credit cards for anybody else, right? So.
And Jillian, will you keep us informed if that 10,000 ends up being too limiting? Then we can revisit at a future meeting. But that's a nice next step.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to amend my slide, Jillian.
Sorry. Do you want me to cut?
Jennifer, start typing. Jennifer, start typing. If you can put it in the chat, we're
okay.
On it.
Ruth, I think there's two things, right? One is just a resolution for the credit card, right? And I think we got kind of into the other piece too, which is the policy.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring a motion to approve the issuance of this credit card, as well as, and Jennifer, somebody helped create this language, as well as
I think we have to amend the fiscal policies is what the motion has to be.
Except that I don't know, my concern, like what I'm trying to figure out, Isabel, is did we amend those fiscal policies, or
I think we need to look at it again, because there's also there's like some other updates we need to make around like how we're doing some of the fiscal work, right, with Kyle's team. So just kind of heads up. I think we have other things to look at that are smaller as well.
So that's maybe two steps, right? So we have this one step, which is let's get you your credit card. Let's with a limit of $10,000. At the same time, to be able to do that, we need to review this red line that Kyle mentioned to see if it requires us to amend somebody help me figure out how to do this without, because it sounds like it's a bigger discussion is like reviewing the entire fiscal policy. That's a whole different conversation, which we're not doing here, right? So we just want to make sure we can carve out this one piece. If in fact this red line, if we did approve a $5,000 limit, how do we deal with that so that we can approve a $10,000 limit now? You know what I'm saying? You guys help me through this.
So yeah, I guess the question on the table is, can we approve a $10,000 limit and a credit card without first revising the fiscal policy? So what is the way to adjust the fiscal policy to accommodate this credit card with a recommendation for deeper review of spending limits across the board, right? So
can I make a suggestion? You feel free to ignore this, but I would say like it's probably going to take a while. If the resolution today is get the credit card, I'll go to the bank, work on that. We'll get that processed. I don't know what the timeline is for the next meeting, but I think we could just approve the resolution to get the credit card today, and then with the goal of coming back with a broader fiscal policy review at the next meeting, if we feel like that's going to be soon enough.
Yeah, the next meeting is in December. So I feel like about a month actually. So I think that's enough time to both get Jillian the card and then make sure what was the phrase that we used earlier that I really liked? To see what the fiscal impact is going to be for the amount that we're going to give the credit for.
Can I ask you a quick question, Kyle? how difficult is it to increase, decrease limits on credit cards with the banks? Because I'm thinking if it's something that's difficult, I'd rather start higher, given that Jillian will be the only one who have a company issued credit card for a couple of months, and then go down from there. You tell me. I don't know what the process is.
It's a good question. I think in general, so my sense is, and we don't actually have a formal like number yet because we have to submit all the financials and there's a process here, the resolutions piece of. My sense is they'll probably give us a limit that is higher than 5,000. So I think that there's a probably higher kind of like limit at the bank, but then we can institute controls that bring us down to 5. So I think they're kind of two different things, I would think.
Right.
I haven't done this with CNB before, but that's my sense.
And I think too, after the account is established, a lot of those things can be done online just by signing into your account, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like we might have a $25,000 limit from our financials, but then we set it at 5 online, basically.
Right.
Okay. Because I just want to voice that I think 10,000 is still low.
Yeah, I want to go with Kimbrough's suggestion around 15 to start. And like Isabella is saying, Kyle is saying, we can always come down from that.
And also, we recently went up on ours because I think I just mentioned that we added 2 new people to it. And so we had to increase the total that we had. And we've been assigned a personal bank manager. So we worked with that person. And really all it took, mainly because we have a long-term relationship, which that may or may not be the case here. But really all that took was a call to her and a response within about 3 days. And we got exactly what we requested. So I think part of it depends on the strength of the relationship, of the banking relationship. But I agree, more than 10,000, we're at 10. I really, as I'm thinking about the kinds of things that have to be done, I think maximum flexibility is needed for the head of school in these beginning days. And a lot of things will need to be done quickly.
And that's a good point that Kimbrough brings up, because after Jillian gets her principal and she gets her head of residential life, she may want to extend, and we may want to help approve her extending access to that card to these other 2 people, to either for them to use it in her stead, or like if there's certain emergencies or something like that. So that's also a good point.
So do we need to approve the credit card, period, in accordance with our existing fiscal policy and expenditure authority? And then pending review at the December meeting, we will have a conversation about increasing to the $15,000.
I think that's what we should do so that we don't slow the process down. Because I think to Kyle's point, they are going to come back with a higher limit anyway. They are, we all know that. So let's just get this approved so that the process can get started, right? So that.
Okay, good idea.
And we may have depending on how quickly, what our schedule is, I know we will most likely have a meeting before December. So there's a chance this could also be part of that meeting, depending on how many things are on our plate. Okay, so I'm reading your motion, which looks very nice. Board of Adoption to approve the issuance of a credit card for the Presidency of $5,000. Okay, great.
And I might amend the $5,000 in accordance with our existing fiscal policy.
Right.
So that we know that we're doing this only temporarily. So I can fix that.
Okay, great. And then we'll do that. How about instead of by the December meeting to be, by the December meeting, great. Yeah.
Is that putting undue burden on you, Jillian and Kyle, to, okay.
No, that's great.
Would someone other than me like to bring this motion to the floor?
I'm happy to do so as a typer. So the board resolves to approve the issuance of a credit card for the president and CEO with a limit of $5,000 in accordance with our current fiscal policy. The board also recommends a full fiscal policy review regarding spending authority overall to be completed by the December meeting.
I second the motion.
All those in favor, I can just do a quick poll. Ruth Stalford, aye. Dr. Jackie Kimbrough.
Aye, just Jackie.
Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sophia Echeverria.
Aye.
Isabella Costa.
Aye.
Rod Hamilton.
Aye.
I think that's everyone who's here.
Aye.
Oh, Jennifer Price Lesher. Aye, I got it.
And you?
It is unanimous. The motion to approve the credit card has been adopted.
Thanks, team. Appreciate it.
Look at us getting it done. Okay, so of course, we're sort of on time because we already talked about the fiscal policy. So let's move right into the CBO outreach, if you're good with that, Jillian. And then we're back on track.
Oh, Jillian, you're on mute.
I sounded really great to myself, guys, for about 4 minutes there. Okay. So I met with a group of you over the last month or so. And what we did is two things. We talked about a list of CBOs that we were interested in doing outreach because we want to make sure that we're hitting our most resilient and underserved youth. And then we did another activity where we made a list of questions that families or anybody might want to ask, right? We just piled a bunch of questions. And so what I've been working on the last couple of weeks is gathering all the resources that we will need to do a 1-2 punch in November, where we all do as much outreach as we possibly can. So some of you who already signed up for CBOs received an email at 9:45 a.m. from me today with all of these resources available to you. If you did not sign up for one, I have tons of ways for you to support if you have time and you are able to. So I just want to walk through a little bit what that email says. I want to provide you with a CBO list. We have we have a Ruth tab, we have a Sarah tab, we have an Isabel tab, we have like these tabs. And for the folks that you've identified, Jackie tab, for folks that you identified you wanted to do outreach with or you had relationships with, because what we're finding, and this won't shock any of you, that it's about who knows who. So I can email, I can call, I can say, I'm Jillian Juman from Seed LA. And then oftentimes I'm like, who are you? Right. And so I can't get into the folks I really need to, which are the direct access to kids and families. So your help and knowing people is useful. So the first part of all of this is the available resources that we have. So there is a Seed LA FAQ guide. So all the questions that we put together. We also have a summary, and I'll send it out at the end of this meeting. We have a kind of a way, and they're not perfect responses. They are one way we can respond united about Seed LA. So it's questions around like, how will my student actually get to the campus, right? So all the logistical questions that people might ask. There is also a heavy hitters internal document, and these are all internal because these are not things we want to share with other folks. This is our own stuff. The heavy hitter questions are more like, are you being racist by having a boarding school? Are you only targeting Black and Brown students? What does it mean about your feeling about Black and Brown moms and dads when you want to take kids away from them, right? So those are heavy hitter questions that we are getting along the way, either implied or directly. One of the ones that are coming up quite a bit is, are kids bad because you're taking them from South LA? So those are the things that we wanted to make sure you were prepared and felt good to kind of be able to talk about those moments, because there are teachable moments for folks and having those conversations. You're going to receive a registration link for CBO information sessions. Some of you signed up yourselves. Whoop, whoop, that's great. So that's the 5th, 9th, and the December 16th. We're doing MailChimp everywhere to get people to sign up. It's very slow. I think people are busy, but we're pushing. We have student family information sessions that you'll have a link for. We have an English-Spanish webinar that's going to be posted on Monday. We recorded it last night. I think it's very cute. We have a webinar PowerPoint to share with you. So in case you just want to whip it out yourself and give people a little schooling on Seed LA, it's a quick and easy PowerPoint. We have postcards, Spanish and English, brochures in both Spanish and English that are very lovely. And we also will have posters that are not to go out till November, but it says enroll now. And it's also the posters that we're hoping will be on the buses. So these are all the resources that you will receive or have received in your email for you to use when talking to folks about our school. Any questions before I proceed here? Are we excited? This is fun. Okay.
Really excited.
Thank you. I just needed a little pump up. And I got so excited that I clicked the wrong button. So heavy hitters, I kind of gave a little bit of a preview there. What I would say is when you get the documents, start with the heavy hitters and then go logistics. The logistics one are, in a range of things around like, what's the curriculum to, right? There's a lot of things there. And I think it will set you up in such a place where if somebody asks like an oddball question, you can at least punt and then find the answers because they're there. The heavy hitters are much more contextual and much more philosophical. And so if we have time at the end, I'll pull it up and just kind of share. I also put on the top just kind of phrases I use everywhere. For any question, I always say, we believe all students can succeed if they're given the resources that they need. Everywhere, I always stamp, I don't care what the question is, families are part of our process because we actually keep kids 5 days a week and then they go home. They're part of the embedded model, right? We believe families help teach and learn and inform the process. We're not taking kids away from community, we're going into the community. So there's these phrases that I have kind of used. And again, if you guys have some, I'm going to ask you to add to that document because, the more clever we can be together. Any questions there? I'm just giving a quick overview. Okay. And then I have hard copies of postcards, posters, and brochures are coming next week. So if you want them, call me, email me, text me. Texting seems to be the best these days. Let me know and we can figure out a way to coordinate some drop off so that you can get the resources that you need. So I want to just talk a little bit about the engagement process. And again, this is all in the email, and then I'm going to share the CBO in just a minute. But ultimately, I do a recommendation on outreach, and most of you are very seasoned in this. So I'm not implying that this is the only way or the right way. It's just one way. What I want to do is be able to get down to the folks. It's very easy for us to stay at the CEO level, right? I'll get introduced to a CEO, I'll talk to a CEO, but they never have direct access to the families and the kiddos, right? And so what I'm trying to do as much as possible, and I'd love your partnership, is when we're talking with our stakeholders, really asking the questions to dive down on a couple things. Who can we most have contact with? And second one is to gather some of their intentions and how we can partner. So we've had experiences, great ones, where we're able to kind of go to a meeting and do outreach directly, which is wonderful. And then I've also had experiences where organizations have their own intentions about what they would like to have with Seed LA, right? It becomes political. And so the more we can get very clear on what the ask is on both sides, the better I'm set up to kind of follow up from whatever the conversation is. So my recommendation is step one, It's just to determine the desired outcome of the CBO. Are they somebody who directly works with families, foster care, right? Adoption agencies, those kinds of things. Or are they stakeholders that actually can just connect us to other stakeholders? Both of them are super important. We just want to be really clear on what the ask is. Does it mean we need to give them a brochure? Does it mean that I should come in and do a presentation? Does it mean that you are the best person to, because they trust you? I've also run into that folks want only folks that they trust to come present. So this is just kind of a recommendation tree there. I'm going to pause for a minute. Questions, thoughts, concerns about step one? And then I have a sample email in there. I mean, I think the number one thing I'd recommend is, like, however you normally do outreach and connect with folks, please do that, right? Some people text, there's all kinds of ways. I just put in a recommendation in there. But step two is, once you identify the desired outcome, engage the right resources or the right people to be able to kind of get what you need done, including if that's outreach to me and Leslie T. Thomas. We can also kind of jump in at different times. I've had some really great handoffs with some of you who've done introductions with me and have kind of told me how I need to kind of engage them. That's really helpful as well. Select an outreach strategy. I recommend being really clear about what CLA is briefly, why CLA is relevant to their work, and how can they specifically help us reach the goal. I have found the more clear I am about what I need, the better, particularly around CLA. Review the internal FAQ guides so that if there's anything that stumps you, or, there's a lot of logistics. We're doing 24 hours, 5 days a week. There's a lot there. I think Sophia probably knows more than all of us, but I think there's just a lot of logistics. And then step 5 is just to send me a brief email, like, spoke to Judy, great. We're going to, whatever it is, just keep me updated so I know how to engage. Give me some directions on how to engage. Questions or thoughts there? I'm pausing. Okay. All right. Well, I like to be clear. That's great.
Well, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jackie.
Tell me again the expectation for November 5th, 9th, and 12th, since that's upcoming pretty quickly.
Oh, for the CBO outreach?
Mm-hmm.
The expectation would be just to share with folks that, particularly, organizations that we feel like we need to partner with, to come learn about our organization.
But if there's a registration link, what is it exactly? Is this a Zoom call?
Oh, it's a Zoom call.
Okay. And it's being run by
me.
Okay. I guess I'm asking what it is. You're presenting the concept and then the processes.
Yeah. And then how to partner. So if you look at the webinar PowerPoint,
mm-hmm.
in your email, Jackie, if you click on that, it's going to be
I don't have the email. I was just looking and it didn't come up.
Really?
Did you just send it? Yeah, I don't have it.
It should have come at 9:45. I scheduled it.
I
All right,
know.
let me fix that. All right.
Okay.
I will fix it too. There's a webinar PowerPoint in there that we're pretty much going to use a very similar thing and then just tack on how they can support. So we're going to go through what 24 hours a day looks like from a student's perspective.
Okay.
And we have images in there and just get really clear on Fridays and Sundays, and then how to partner with us.
And so the expectation for board members is to be on the call, and what else?
I would say network to your folks. And I think, Jackie, you signed up for 4 or 5 folks that, I'm sorry, it's not in your email yet. But it should be 4 or 5 folks that possibly you might want to bring them to the info session. Or if you feel like that's not their jive, you might want to give them the actual PowerPoint yourself.
Okay.
And run through it. Yeah, we're finding that some folks want to join things, and then some folks just want to hear from their friends. So, whatever, use your best knowledge of your folks. Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. So here's the goals, and then I'm going to stop for a minute. I'm going to pause and then actually share our full CBO list with y'all so we can talk through it. To kind of leverage our relationships, right? And the connections that many of you have already given me have been really powerful, particularly when there's a lot of invites. So I've done lunches with folks. I mean, all of that's really helpful. The goal for me would be if we could outreach, and we have a whole list of it. So, I'm being ambitious, but if we can outreach to folks between November 1st and November 15th, to kind of just get our name out there. My hope is that our family information sessions starting December 2nd are just bursting with families. That's my hope. I want to build a CBO list through networking. So I imagine that you'll have some folks that know other people, particularly as we're getting out to Antelope Valley, as we're getting out to Lancaster, even down to, some of the Southgate areas. Increasing our list there will be helpful. So keep me looped in on that, or if you have an idea. And then I want to move from just talking to CEOs and directors and actually getting invited to talk to the people on the ground, which has been tricky. That's been a little tricky, if I'm going to be super honest. So I'm going to pause here and break out the list, but any questions or thoughts? You guys have done this for many, many years. So my guess is you have some ideas. Did this make sense? Give me some feedback, y'all.
I can say that.
Go ahead,
Sophia?
Oh, sorry. I thought, okay. So far, this seems pretty similar to other outreach that I've seen from CDC. And that's kind of really the only experience that I can speak to. However, my worry is also coming from my experience. My worry, excuse me, my worry is, okay. In addition to other kinds of community partnerships, it's also important to partner with public schools in LA County, because there are teachers and counselors who know of students who would benefit from a program like ours. But at the same time, in a post-pandemic atmosphere, there could be nervousness or hesitancy surrounding essentially us getting students who would otherwise add to their total enrollment. And also I think there could be nervousness and hesitancy around putting students in a new school while current public schools are still trying to recover from all of the stresses that the pandemic has landed, So I just want to, I want to make sure that in addition to all of the exceptional work, Jillian, that you are putting into this outreach, that we're making sure that we're addressing those possible concerns. Like, in addition, obviously, of course, to, you're like, boarding schools are for bad kids, especially when we look at the intersection of children of color and boarding schools, and how, there's been a history of the criminal justice system and like certain boarding programs or like overnight programs, et cetera. And, wanting to make sure that we are being conscious of the racial impact of the program, but also making sure that we're addressing those, I don't want to say post-pandemic, because I really do not believe that we are at that point historically, but addressing any of those concerns that's come out of the pandemic, trusting schools to do the right thing by students, considering like all the students who got left out via distance learning. I don't know if I'm making a lot of sense, but I hope that I am. So yeah, okay. Distillation. How are these outreach efforts, in addition to addressing the things that you have come up with, Jillian, which are fantastic, in addition to that, addressing any of those sort of like pandemic related issues and enrollment issues for other public schools, I guess? And you don't have to answer that immediately. I don't expect you to. I just want to make sure that it's being thought of moving forward. Okay, I'll be quiet.
No, I don't think you should be quiet, Sophia. I think you're lifting up you know, when I'm meeting with colleagues across Los Angeles, that's what we're talking about. I mean, I think you're lifting up something very real, right? And I think SEED can be a real model across Los Angeles actually on how to think about the 24 hours differently so that we're serving kids and providing those options. But I think you are right in the sense of there is some hesitancy, there is some fear from other schools around SEED LA. I think Vox Academy has been very open to us that we're going to their fair. They're very excited. Alliance Through Relationships is being very open to us. So public schools are working with us in partnership, but there is, I mean, enrollment is a fight and we are underserving and we continue to underserve the same population in South LA. So I think, I'm just going to say, I think you're right. And I'm going to do some thinking around that. That's as deep as right now.
That's very appreciated.
Absolutely.
I just want to jump. We have a time check. Technically, we're supposed to wrap this up at 10:30. If everyone can just stick around a little bit longer, the next few items are quick, so and don't require any action or anything. So,
and I'm actually going to close out in 2 minutes of this section. Okay.
Yeah, and make sure. I just want to make sure everyone asks their questions too. I just wanted to be mindful that I know we had talked about finishing at 10:30.
So in the chat, I put in our big roster. And again, Isabel, did you, oh, maybe it's not Isabel. Sarah's not on here. Jackie, you didn't get your email. So
actually, I didn't either, Jillian. I just checked. That's part of why I was so quiet as I was.
Yeah, I think, oh, that's because we didn't get your sign up yet. So actually, Anita, can you check your email just to make sure you got it? I was feeling very fancy to have that scheduled at 9:45 and then it didn't happen. So that's sad. So in the document in the chat, you'll see it's also on the bottom, you'll see JJ and LT. These are all the ones that are not assigned to anyone. So I'm going to do the outreach directly. There's about 80 something CBOs that aren't assigned to anyone. So if you go on that list and if you're someone that is willing to do some outreach, it would be really helpful if you just put your name next to it and say, I will do this outreach, and then I will make your tab. Then you'll also see a Ruth tab, an Anita tab. These are all just people that signed up already. A Sarah tab, a Jackie tab, and a Neelura tab. So you could also just make your own tab and then just pull in the one that you want to do. I just want to make sure that we're not double hitting because that's also not good for a CBO. They want us to have a little bit of a plan. So my ask would be if by, I would say Tuesday morning, if you are interested in doing outreach, please either make yourself a tab or identify which ones you want to work on the sheet, and I'll make you a tab myself. And I will also send you the resources via email so that you're ready to rock and roll.
I've just been plunking my name in. I have relationships with a lot of these. I just want to make sure that on my through my professional life at Parsons Foundation, and I just want to double check with our CEO that my direct outreach would be based on what you've given us to say would be okay with her before I do it. But there's a lot that I can support with here. Helpful.
Thank you. And Jen, and if you can't do it by Tuesday because you still need to talk to your CEO, just send me a little message. Perfect. And that's it, y'all. So I'm going to send out the email. Please reach out to me if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, but hopefully it's a good start. It's not perfect, but it's a really great start to get ourselves out there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jillian. I'm so excited. I remember Julie Makuta coming to West Elementary School in Northwest DC when I was in 6th grade and learning about SEED for the first time. And when that message really connects with a kid and they want to go home and they want to talk to their family about it, it's a magical moment, y'all.
I do wonder, Sophie, I mean, I'm going to put you a little bit on the hook, but you don't respond. I would love for you to come with me on some of these events because I think your voice is very powerful.
I know. I appreciate your.
I said, don't answer now, Sophie.
No, I'm going to answer anyway. Okay. I'm saying yes, but I'm saying it with contingency. I want you to know that like immediately I'm like, yes. I don't know how significant my voice can be, considering like how long ago my experience was and how different my experience will be to incoming CWA students. But wholeheartedly, enthusiastically, absolutely.
All right,
I'm
your
here
name.
for that.
Thank you. We do have a video of a young lady who went to a high school in Los Angeles, and she's speaking to the Latinx community and saying, I know that this is scary because we believe culturally that boarding schools are for bad kids. That's how she was raised in the Catholic kind of South LA community. But what she's going to say very loudly is like, I wish I had this. I wish I had an opportunity where I could focus on my own learning 5 days a week and still see my family. So it's a pretty moving moment. And so we're hoping to get that out pretty closely. So I think, Sophia, your story, although different, is powerful. That's it. Thanks for being awesome. Sign up if you can, and let's get rocking and rolling.
Very exciting. So look at that. It's 10:32. So the next, I'm just going to quickly move into, unless there's anything else. Is there anything else you guys know? Because we're losing everybody here. A quick thing, the next item is the nominating committee, and there really isn't much to say about it, except that the reason we put it on the agenda is we are starting to get solicitations from people who want to be on our board, offering to, yeah. So I think it's probably a good time for us to form a nominating committee that can create the proper criteria and sort out, you know, what we have space to bring a lot more people on. We don't need to do it all at once, and we probably shouldn't, but we need to be very thoughtful about that. So I was putting this on the agenda so that it's something that we start to talk about and then create this committee when the, you know, sooner than later. I just want to sort of flag that for everybody. That was really all that was on there. So why it was on there.
I'd love to volunteer for it.
Great. Great.
I would also like to be part of that process.
Fantastic.
I don't think I myself will be nominating anyone specifically, but definitely, I guess, in terms of criteria and vetting candidates.
Yep.
And Jackie.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. Well, you know, unless there's anything else, and it is only us, so we can, and we're past our adjournment time, so we're okay. You know, we still need to, you know, obviously this is all under the Brown Act, and we're being transparent and following all of this. So we have moved past the time of our open session, and there isn't anyone else here but us, so that we can adjourn. Thank you all for being here. You know where to find everybody. Thank you for your patience and for working through all of this today. I think we did a great job. Nice teamwork. Good job.
Special shout outs to Jennifer and the awesome typing skills.
Exactly.
Aw, thank
Well
you.
done.
You guys and your smart brains, all of you. Thank you.
Well done. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. And, you know, you'll be hearing from all of us and we'll be hearing from you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so it is 10:35. The Seat School of Los Angeles County, a meeting of the Board of Directors is officially adjourned.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Happy Halloween.
Thanks,
Happy holidays.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.